His power of positive thinking took the Kings to the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago. But lately, it's not good to be the Kings. How much longer will he have Gretzky? How safe is his job as the head coach? And has his team defined its identity? Barry Melrose addresses these questions today up close. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Chris Myers here in Los Angeles. And Barry, welcome to the program. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
The thought on, and I guess in a couple of weeks, we'll hit the halfway point of the shortened regular season. How much has play been affected overall by the lockout and the layoff?
Well, I think at the start, the first few games, the cohesiveness and the style of play is affected. But right now, I think the play is great. It's very intense. If you'd have watched Chicago-Dallas game last night on ESPN, it was just a fantastic game. A lot of hitting, very physical, fighting. It's a battle every night. There's so many teams that are so close, and you're fighting against teams in your own division, and those are the teams you're playing every night. So right now, I really like the conference play like they have in baseball. I think it's exciting. I think it makes for better play.
So you don't think the playoffs will at all be affected by the lockout and the layoff?
No, I think it's going to be intense. I think what we're seeing now is the games are more important and more exciting and more intense, and that's good for the people. So I think it's been really a boost rather than a knock.
Now the goal scoring is down, I guess, about a goal over this season, really a goal and a half if you go back. Some might figure the layoff, but the neutral zone trap, which we saw a little bit of last year and we're seeing more of this year by even better teams, you think is the real reason for the lower scoring?
Totally. It's the defenses now. Florida came in last year, and Roger Nielsen used this, and they had a lot of success. And then what you found now is the better teams, New Jersey, Buffalo, teams like that, really use this trapping defense. And it's not just the trap. It's basically neutral zone aggressiveness. You don't really attack or forecheck until the team gets in the neutral zone, and you try and bottle them up so the team gets no flow, they get no speed. If they don't get it deep, you get play in the neutral zone. So thus you're getting the 2-1, 1-1 games, and that's why the game, they're basically zone defenses, and that's why the games are lower scoring.
Where does your team fit in that philosophy?
Well, I don't believe in that. I want a team that really attacks, a team that's very aggressive. I think that's the way to play. I think that's the most exciting way to play, and the players love to play that way. But we have to change a little bit from our style because we were giving up too many neutral zone turnovers. That's what this system creates. So we've become a little different that way. But I would love to see the whole league go to an attacking, aggressive style, because that's what we sell. We can sell our skating, our aggressiveness, the hitting, the speed, and the fans aren't getting to see that with these defenses in the neutral zone.
And this Kings team, kind of your team, you wanted big, you wanted hit, and it's been a rough start so far. How would you describe what has not worked for what you've tried to put together here?
Well, our home record, we haven't won at home. Our road record is above 500, which is great, and we're playing very well on the road. A couple of things have happened. We've had a lot of injuries. Rob Blake's been out a month. McSorley's been out. Petit's been out. Kelly Rudy was out early. So we really haven't had our full team together until probably next week. But we've done a lot of good things. We're going in the right direction. We're becoming a team that's very hard to play against. Our goaltending right now is excellent with Fuhr and Rudy, and our defense is big and mobile. But right now we're right in the middle of things, and whoever gets hot the last 25, 30 games is going to be in the playoffs.
The Grant Fuhr trade, controversial. Many people, not only around the league, fans in Los Angeles, the Southern California area, questioning giving up a guy with the talents of Zhitnik and his age for a goalie who's going to be a free agent after this season.
Well, basically it was Zhitnik for three players. It was Zhitnik for Fuhr, who is one of the greatest goaltenders in hockey, Philip Boucher, who's 21 years old and we feel is going to be a great NHL defenseman, and Denis Tagurov, who's 24. He's 6'4", he's 210 pounds. So basically it was 1 for 3, and we feel we got two young defensemen, certainly not as dynamic as Alex, because Alex was a very dynamic young defenseman, but bigger, lankier, stronger, and they fit into our overall situation we want in defense. And I don't think it's really fair to judge these two kids yet, because Blake's been out, McSorley's been out, and Petit's been out. So these kids have had to do things that they weren't ready to do. And I think once we get everybody back, then it's fair to judge these two kids on defense.
Will an effort be made to sign him to a longer-term contract to secure him?
I think what we've got now, we've got a lot of options. We've got two veteran goaltenders that are excellent goaltenders, very capable of being #1 goalies, and now we've got some decisions to make. Do we keep Fuhr? Do we keep Kelly? Then do we trade one of them at the deadline? We got a lot of options that we are able to do now as a team. And right now it's already worked because Fuhr is pushing Kelly, and Kelly's playing some of the best hockey he's ever played. It's
been a disappointing start for the Kings. Your contract runs another 2 years after this year. I'm sure you, having spent a little bit of time in the broadcast media when you helped out ESPN in the playoffs last year on our coverage, you hear the rumors, you hear what people are saying, not only in the media, around the league about job security for Barry Melrose. Maybe he has to make the playoffs to keep his job, and maybe even then may lose his job. Have you heard this? Yeah, and I think every coach has, and that's unfortunate. If you're looking for job security, you should maybe become a pilot and join the join an airliner. But no, we've got to play well, and the coach is the man who's going to take the heat if we don't make the playoffs and we don't win. And I have no problem with that. This is the profession I've chosen. I love it, and I got to take the good with the bad. And when your team doesn't win, the coach is the guy who takes the heat, deservedly so. It's his team. But do you say to your general manager, hey, what is happening here in terms of am I on the line in this regard, or do your players start to wonder too? And can that be a detriment to a team hearing that? Well, it certainly can be a detriment because it gives the players an excuse, and anytime you give a player an excuse, a lot of them will take it, and that's a problem with athletes today. But as a coach, you don't really care if you're on the line or you're not on the line. You're going to coach the same way. You believe in the same things. I've had a lot of success as a coach, and I've loved that, and I've had a little struggle here in LA last year, and I have to take the heat for that. So you've got to live with what you've got, and I certainly, if we don't make the playoffs this year, then I don't deserve to coach here, and I have no problem with that. Really? So you're saying if the Kings don't make the playoffs this year, then you would be comfortable with being let go if they wanted to? I'm the guy that takes the heat. It's my team, and I believe in this team, and I believe in the players on this team. And as I said, the coach is the guy that is the bottom line guy, and he certainly has to take the heat. Now, last year there was talk about at that time that you might lose your job. Nick Beverly, the GM, was let go. New person in that position. Are you more involved in the personnel decisions this year than last year, and is that part of the reason why you think that you're really on the line now? Well, yeah, a coach should be should get the team that he wants, and that's what we're doing here. We're becoming a big team. We're a lot younger than we were 2 years ago when I came here. Kevin Brown's 20, Todd's 24, Sidor's 20, Blake's 24. We're getting a young team, a big team that's not nice to play against. Our road record shows that. I think we only won 4 games on the road, and in 84 games last year, we've already won 3, and we're above 500 on the road. So that's attributed to our size and our toughness. But I like the way this team's going, and I'll live and die with it. I think it's the right way to go. All right, we're talking with Barry Melrose. Just a couple of years ago, his team was in the Stanley Cup final. Coming up on Up Close, we'll talk to him about Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky. Is the great one really considering retiring? Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Up Close is brought to you by Office Depot, taking care of business with guaranteed low prices on thousands of brand name office supplies.
Hey, listen, you know the only thing better than buying a computer at Office Depot? Coming here to buy all your add-ons and upgrades.
Taking care of business.
Need software? Office Depot has guaranteed low prices on hundreds of titles. You'll also save on modems, memory upgrades, processors, all sorts of multimedia kits and add-ons. Are you taking care of business at Office Depot? Maybe it's time you did.
Taking care of business. Bacon! Is that bacon I smell?
Got a taste for a burger with bacon.
Oh, I love bacon!
Crisp hot bacon sounds good to me.
McDonald's!
They do it like I like it at Mickey's.
Better have one for me!
McDonald's Bacon Double Cheeseburger. A bacon lover's dream with savory, smoky bacon is just 99 cents starting Wednesday. Or get a morning fresh bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, only 99 cents.
Get back here right now!
Your break today.
It came into being, and it was good. It was outrageously good. And now, it's even better. Because now, you can lease a brand new Eclipse RS for just $199 a month with $1,500 down. Or buy it with 2.9% APR financing. The Eclipse from Mitsubishi, the new thinking in automobiles.
Important news was recently announced at a national sports medicine conference. A new study shows that for the sore muscles that occur the day after a strenuous workout, Advil provides superior relief to extra-strength Tylenol. It's strong and fast. If you exercise regularly, you should know that more doctors recommend Advil than any other pain reliever for all types of muscle aches. For next-day soreness, Advil just works better than Tylenol. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
And welcome back to Up Close. Today, it's Melrose Place, 17th head coach in Kings history. But since 1977, no head coach of the Kings has had the job past the 3-year mark, something that Barry addressed moments ago on the program. And since that year in the finals, I feel a lot better now. Cheering you up. Well, you're a positive thinker, so that should be nothing to you, right? You could just read one of those Anthony Robbins books, and you'll be fine. We'll talk about that a little bit later, because I find that fascinating, and how well that is working or will work at a time like this. But since the final year, a lot has happened, and one of the things to this organization is Bruce McNall, the owner, pleading guilty to fraud charges, faces sentencing, jail time, really no longer involved in the day-to-day operation anymore. But the guy who hired you, and I know has meant a lot to you, first of all, your reaction to what happened, and maybe how it has affected this team, this franchise.
Well, I guess from the start I was hoping that it wasn't true, and I think we all were, because we all care about Bruce very much. But I think maybe me and you will come back here in 20 years, and when we're all about 40 years old, and we'll look back at important people in hockey in the late 80s and 90s, and Bruce McNall will be very high in that list, because he had the guts to go out and get Wayne Gretzky and make that trade and give an unbelievable amount of money, which everyone thought. But I can guarantee you there wouldn't be hockey in San Jose right now, there wouldn't be hockey in Anaheim right now, and there wouldn't be hockey in Dallas right now, and there wouldn't be teams bidding, trying to get Quebec and trying to get Edmonton into the United States if it wasn't for Gretzky coming to LA. So he's going to be an important piece of the puzzle when hockey's a huge success.
Has this affected the organization or you or this team at all, what has happened? The fact that he has admitted guilt and is not as closely involved? Not
in a hockey way. That's not an excuse for us struggling. It's been in the outskirts, and Bruce has really worked hard to keep it away from the hockey department, as have the new owners, Mr. Cohn and Mr. Sudikoff. Bruce is around a lot because he still cares about the team, but the day-to-day operations now are from the new owners.
Have you talked to Bruce lately?
Yeah, we took him out for supper the other night, Cap and I and John Perpich.
I hope you picked up the tab.
Well, that man is still going to be, Bruce is a very smart man, and whatever happens to him, he's going to end up on his feet and doing very well. He's a genius, and he's a very nice man, and I think that's what I want the people to realize when I talk about Bruce McNall, is this is a good man. He's not an evil man. He's not a bad man. He made some mistakes, and he'll pay for it. He'll stand up and pay for it. But he has done an awful lot of good things. And when I hear about people talking about him, they overlook a lot of the good things. The people that used to pat him on the back and love to be around him now are ripping him, and I don't like people like that.
Well, how are his spirits when you spend some time with him, even as recently as this week?
Good. He has good days and bad days, and as I said, he's certainly going to stand up and take the punishment for the things. And his overall is good. He's good around the guys. He's good around the team, because that's his first love, is athletes and hockey, and he's still very good around us.
Do you still say, when you're talking to him, hey, what do you think of this deal, or what do you think of this move?
We talk hockey a lot. He's still involved, and he was in the overall picture, and he's still got a lot of friends among the owners in the NHL, and his opinion's still very valued.
There's talk, speaking of ownership, of Wayne Gretzky maybe wanting to be an owner, or at least part owner, maybe similar to what Magic Johnson is doing. You know Wayne, obviously more than just a player-coach relationship. What are your thoughts of that, and could he figure in the mix with this particular franchise?
I certainly believe Wayne will be an owner of an NHL team someday. I think it's just natural. He's such an ambassador to the game, and he has got a little bit of cash laying around. I think he will be an owner of an NHL team, and maybe here. But I definitely think down the road you'll see Wayne part of an ownership group.
His plus-minus is not as one of the worst in the league, and we know the great one can do much better than that. He hinted, and this is not an excuse, but health and retirement may be around the corner. We hear this surface, and even in the offseason he admitted, worried about his diminishing abilities in that area. Do you think, how realistic? Might he retire within a year? I mean, do you think it's closer than it is further away?
Well, I think anyone who's known Wayne or read things that Wayne's written, the one thing that he won't tolerate is not being one of the best players in the world, and I don't think he'll play if he isn't. And the way he's playing right now, he's certainly not the player right now he wants to be.
Yeah, why do you think that? Do you think it's...
I think it's a number of things. I think the same situation it was 2 years ago. His conditioning wasn't great when he came back. He's 34 now, and he's got to get that conditioning level up. And I think the same thing will happen this year as happened 2 years ago. He'll get it going and get a spark, and he'll carry us down the stretch and into the playoffs.
There are situations in other sports. John Elway comes to mind, where the star, Magic Johnson, the star of the team, the franchise, has some influence with ownership, coaching, what kind of personnel is brought in. You know where I'm going with this one.
Do I ever?
And Wayne has denied it, of course, but it certainly appears as if he has some influence on what kind of personnel decisions are made. Is that true?
Totally false. Totally false. What will happen is, if we're talking about a player that he knows or has played with in the Canada Cup, or we'll ask him, as we will Marty, as we will Rob Blake. But no, and that's unfair, because he's taking a lot of heat over the things we've done, and I get very upset with that when I have to listen to it over and over again. That's not true at all.
I know, especially with the Grant Fuhr trade. I mean, but he hasn't come to you and said at some point, hey, I really like this player, would really help us
Wayne's
out.
never done that. Wayne, we went to him and asked him about, of course we asked him about Grant Fuhr, of course we asked him about players that we got that he knows, but no, we've never, Wayne's never said do this deal or not do it. He wouldn't. He's a class individual. He's a total professional. He doesn't want that. Wayne wants to be a player, and that's all he wants to be, and he takes a lot of heat and a lot of criticism that isn't warranted.
And do you have to sometimes, Barry, approach him maybe a little bit differently than some of the other players on the team in terms of motivating or maybe just guiding, coaching, because he is the player he is, who has the standard set that he has?
You're saying, do you coach him, or do you just let him do whatever he wants?
Kind of, or you know, since you might know him, know how to push the right kinds of buttons.
Wayne, again, is a total professional. He's prepared all the time. I coach him the same way. If he's doing something wrong, he gets barked at the same as Marty does, or the same as Tony Granato does, and he wants that. Wayne doesn't want to be treated any different, and he knows when he's playing bad, and he knows when he's playing good, as do all athletes. But I think of all the superstars that people get to coach, I got the best one. He's not in the papers criticizing management every day. He's not in the paper saying he wants to be traded. If he's not playing well, he doesn't criticize the other players. He criticizes himself. So, as I said, overall, I've got the greatest player to coach of all the superstars.
We're talking with Barry Melrose of the LA Kings, and we'll talk about some of the other issues around the NHL and discuss some of his beliefs in the power of positive thinking when we continue on Up Close. Stick around.
Music Express, voted #1 by the National Limousine Association, has offices in Los Angeles and the East Coast. Music Express can handle your corporate needs anywhere in the U.S. and worldwide.
Homework in our household is a nightmare. We both dreaded it.
I was always in a bad mood. I would do anything to get out of doing my homework.
She didn't know how to study.
We had workbooks stacked to the ceiling.
I'm not a teacher. I'm a dentist.
That's why I called Sylvan. The study skill program made a real difference.
She does her homework all by herself now.
Sylvan has made a big change in our family life.
Sylvan is the best money we've ever spent.
In East Brunswick, call 908-390-4040. In Hamilton, 609-588-9037.
It's the least we can do. It's last, but not least. It will give you a new lease on life. Introducing the Lexus ES Lease. For a limited time, you can lease a front-wheel drive ES for just $1,500 down and $399 per month for 36 months. It's an offer of such extraordinary value, not even the worst lease cliches can demean it. Put a visit to Lawrence Lexus on your lease of things to do. Sorry.
Watch a little too much indoor lacrosse, Mike?
I'm sorry.
Friday at 8:30, the Boston Blazers at the New York Saints. The Major Indoor Lacrosse League on ESPN 2.
Baseball's owners and players set another deadline. How soon could Sterling be back with the Pack? And we'll update the condition of Gerald McClellan with reaction from around the world of boxing on SportsCenter at 6:30.
We're back with Barry Melrose. Played 11 years of pro hockey. He's been the Kings coach since 1992. Enjoys golf and going to the beach. Wow, who doesn't? But how about this? Favorite book, Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. I don't know if Barry, I don't know if I want to play for a guy who who has that at the top of his top 10 book list.
I was just happy ESPN spelled Saskatchewan right. I was looking at that.
We were up all night going over that one. It took our research staff hours to find that. So you really, this is your favorite book, Leadership secrets?
I read a lot of books on mind and motivating people and talking to people, and I find players have coaches, and I find that I need people to get new ideas from and new thought patterns and ways of handling people. So I read a lot of books by Dr. Wayne Dyer and by Napoleon Hill and people that have made livings out of making people better and better leaders. So I get ideas from them that I use on my players.
Attila the Hun, though, anything have you, I mean, what could you pull from that possibly, other than like, you know, I'll kill you if you don't perform?
That's a pretty good motivational tactic, really. It wouldn't be bad to use as a coach if you get away with it. What that book does, it compares the life of Attila, and it uses his way of using an army. It's a metaphorical book about leadership, but it uses the army as a way of doing it. And I thought it's an excellent book because it used an example of how he got his troops to do things and how he managed his troops, but it works in business. It's designed for business and leadership. And it's an interesting book because of the war relationship and the army, but it's very intense and it's directly related to business and managing people.
And when players get in your doghouse, to use the expression, what happens to them from your point of view? Is this done by design, or do you really lose your cool for a minute and say, hey, I got to cool off, you go there, I'll go here, or is it to teach them something?
I don't think a good coach ever loses his cool. I think he loses his cool for effect. He becomes an actor. Certainly none of us are as good as Jack Nicholson, but there's a time where you have to lose your cool and you do it for effect. Certain guys respond to that, certain guys don't. So other guys you have to respond by maybe one-on-one confrontations, or certain people respond to being embarrassed. Certain people respond to friendship. Certain people respond to camaraderie. And as a coach, you have to decide which works for the individual that isn't performing. Certain people only respond to threats. You use the word killing, which is a little too tough, but there's other forms of intimidation that works with people. Certain people only respond to that. Certain people only respond to friendship. So you have to find what makes people tick and which works with certain individuals.
And I know you've read some of Pat Riley's books, and he's the master at this type of thing. And at a certain point, though, you almost have to stay fresh, because it's not that your act is wearing out, but the people around you have heard this all before.
It's like the stupid kid that takes grade 8 for the third time. He's not going to pass it the third time. He's already heard everything the teacher's going to say. So that's why a coach has to find new ways of saying the same things. It's not what you say, it's what they hear. And really, you showed the graphic about coaches only lasting 3 years, and that's usually the average, because the players have usually tuned them out by then, and you can only say the same things over and over so many times. So you've got to come up with new ways of saying the same things, new ways of motivating, new ways of intimidating, new ways of pressuring, new ways of getting stuff out for your players.
So how do you apply that now this year with this team, which and I'll say it again, it has not, you know, it's off to the rough start. I mean, you're the same coach who went to the finals, right, a couple of years ago. So, and Marty McSorley had glowing things to say about the kind of coach you were then, and here now you're a coach. You admitted, hey, you might lose your job if you don't make it to the postseason. So do you have to change things? How do you, what works here based on what you just talked about?
You don't change the message because the message is right. You believe in a certain thing, so you've got to find different ways of coming at them, coming through the side door instead of the front door, or you know, coming in the chimney instead of the front door. And you got to. That's why you use expert people like Tony Robbins or Dr. Wayne Dyer or Dennis Waitley. Things that they teach you, that's what you use to get to these people.
All right, when you hear the music, that means we have to take a break. Even Barry knows that, and we'll be right back to wrap things up with Barry Melrose. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm TK Crowley, and I'm one of MCI's new friends and family customers. Here's how it works. When I spend just $10 a month, I save 50% calling my mom and dad, my sisters, a guy I sometimes admit is my brother, and these characters. They're the friends and family customers I choose, so my calls to them are half price. The other people I call, well, I save 25% on every call to them automatically, and this group includes everyone else in America. Fact is, no matter who I call with new friends and family, I always save over AT&T's best program.
The most interesting moment in the course of the praying mantis mating ritual occurs at the point in the proceedings when she, the female mantis, surprises the male and bites his head off. Unless, of course, he's quick enough to get away. The Mantis by Sheila.
UConn may be thinking Seattle, but Providence isn't ready to be overlooked. Donnie Marshall and Ray Allen will take it on the road against Eric Williams and the Friars. And Big Monday will continue when the mayor goes up against Big Country. The Cyclones can light it up, but Eddie Sutton's Cowboys are tough as nails in Stillwater. UConn versus Providence, Iowa State versus Oklahoma State. Bud Light presents Big Monday tonight at 7:30, only on ESPN.
We're winding down with the Barry Melrose coming up, too. Also a check on what we're hearing about NFL free agents. But first, former Minnesota North Star Bill Goldsworthy recently announced that he had AIDS. And the Winnipeg Sun quoted a former Winnipeg player as saying he'd put money down right now that there are guys in the league who are HIV positive. Again, this is an unidentified player, but it is a quote. And he said that no one practiced safe sex 10 years ago. Do you agree with his quote that there are HIV players in the league today? Well, number one, I don't believe anyone who doesn't give their name. It doesn't take a lot of guts to say 20 guys have AIDS in the NHL. I don't agree with that, but certainly in today's society, I'm not blind to what goes on, and I'm certainly not saying there's none. But the NHL takes a lot of precautions, and some of them are our trainers. Whenever they, number one, I guess, is make sure it's someone other's blood, not yours. That's the main rule. But our trainers are very careful. They always wear rubber gloves, dealing with any cut, anything that could possibly be contagious, and everything goes into sterilized containers to deal with blood. They're not left on the ground. They're not thrown in the corner of the bench. They have a sterilized container on the bench and in the dressing room. Gloves, towels, anything with blood on it goes into these sterilized containers and are taken care of by the proper people. So the NHL is very, very aware of the problem, and they're very, very careful. It's something to keep an eye on. Well, thanks. As time went fast. Come back, see us again, and good luck with the team and the run towards the postseason. Always good to see you again. All right, Barry Melrose of the LA Kings. We'll be back on Up Close. Check on some NFL wide receivers, where they may be heading. Don't go away.
Up Close is brought to you by Advil, advanced medicine for pain. No non-prescription pain reliever is proven to last longer than Advil.
I've stopped playing baseball now, but my son Reed just signed a pro contract. Sometimes we go over his games, and if he asks, I tell him what I know. Like when your muscles get sore, take Advil. Just a couple are strong, fast, and work for me. And Advil's gentle on my stomach.
If it'll work on these old muscles, then I know it'll work on mine.
Nothing's been proven to last longer than Advil. Advanced medicine for pain.
Dear Midas, my wife's brake light had been flashing on, so we took the car to a repair shop. They failed to properly inspect the brakes and solve the problem. Then we took the car to Midas. Russ did a proper inspection and told me,
"Oh, your brake pads are worn, causing your master cylinder to use more brake fluid, in turn causing your light to go on."
Then I got new pads and a guarantee. I should complain to that repair shop, but I wanted to congratulate you instead. Thank you, Dave Buchanan.
Two of last year's Final Four will go head-to-head when the Razorbacks travel to Gainesville. Dan Cross and Andrew DeClerc will lead the Gators against Corliss and Company in this SEC matchup. Arkansas versus Florida, Super Tuesday, tomorrow at 9:30, only on ESPN.
Friday night, we're going to play the New York Rangers, the current Stanley Cup champions. It hurts me to even say that. Do I got to say it like that? Do we have to say it with the Stanley Cup thing? Can we just cut that part out?
And since it's open season on NFL free agents, here's some of what we're hearing. Packers and Chiefs are going hard after the biggest catch, Andre Rison. Rison spoke with the Browns over the weekend. He's already met with Green Bay and has a scheduled meeting with the Chiefs. The Packers are trying to replace Sterling Sharp. They're also looking at Alvin Harper if they can't sign Rison. Kansas City and the Browns are also serious about signing the ex-Cowboy. Dallas, which had some interest in Flipper Anderson, is now going to slide Kevin Williams into Harper's old spot and move Corey Sawyer up to the third receiver. The Falcons, who will lose Rison and running back Eric Pegram to free agency, have approached Cleveland about trading for Eric Metcalf. The Browns want at least a #1 pick in return. Cleveland would like to sign Cincinnati wide receiver Carl Pickens, who's a restricted free agent. It would probably cost the Browns, though, a first and a third-round draft choice. The Saints are closing in on free agent defensive lineman and former Viking Henry Thomas. Remember, he played his college ball at LSU, and the Saints' new defensive coordinator knows his talents well. Monty Kiffin was an assistant coach with Minnesota before joining the Saints. And if you're looking for a sleeper running back in the April draft, coaches are already talking about Joe Aska from Central State College in Oklahoma. That's A-S-K-A. He's a track and field star who wowed the scouts at the Blue-Gray game. One described him as a Marion Butts with 4.3 speed. He's from another land, the Caribbean, and is moving up like a player named Christian Okoye once did. So instead of the Nigerian Nightmare, Joe Aska could be the Caribbean Cruise. We'll talk more NFL tomorrow with Andre Rison. I'm Chris Myers. Thanks for watching Up Close. We'll see you later.
Introducing Continental's Bake Sale with great low fares to destinations throughout the Caribbean, Mexico, and Florida.